Okay, so for the last round in October, these were the books that I was supposed to read. I read everything that I needed to except this book. I am currently in the process of reading this one, which is a bonus book, but I did finish all of these, and I will have a reading vlog for all of these very soon if you're interested in learning what they're about and what my feelings are towards them. But unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to finish this in time. Today is October 31st, the last day of the month, and I'm not even close to finishing this one. And as I said, I am still in the process of reading this one, which is a bonus point, but doesn't save me from a penalty. So this is going to be the first month, possibly ever, or at least in a while, that I'm going to have to take a penalty for not finishing one of the books on my TBR. Okay, before I get everything started, I'm going to shuffle in some of the cards from the month before last. And then I'd also like to shuffle some of these other piles as well, because sometimes it feels like they are not shuffled enough. And then I need to shuffle the penalty cards since I'm going to need to pick one. Okay, starting with points, I actually didn't do very well this month. I only read 1,834 pages, and 333 of those pages were technically left over from last month. So I only actually read 1,501 pages this month. Technically there's a little bit more, but I'm not counting the 2 books that are in progress that I haven't finished, because I do hope to finish them and I'll count them later. So that is 1 point here, and that completes this. And since I did complete one of my rewards tracker, I already ended up doing my mini haul. And so these are some books that I ended up getting for this time of year. I figured I'd do a quick share because they're all kind of spooky-ish. So I ended up getting Carmilla, which I believe is what inspired Dracula. So I'm excited to read that at some point. I also got a Dowry of Blood, because just look at that cover. Gorgeous. I also got Something Wicked This Way Comes, because I keep hearing that this is a fantastic book for the season, but I did just see a review that ended up saying that this is a father-son bonding. So I'll see if it's up my alley, but I'm interested in that. And then lastly, I also got A Lesson in Vengeance. So these are all of the spooky books that I ended up getting in October, since I knew I was going to be completing the thing. Okay, so in addition to the 1,000 pages, so the 1 point for that, I did complete 5 out of the 6 books. So we will get 1 point for each of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We did get a bonus card here, so let's pick that. All right, so we'll have to use this round. It's worth more. Oh, actually we don't have to use this round. And that reminds me that I actually get bonus points for these. I got 1 bonus point for getting a book from the TBR jar that wasn't something that I had to buy. 1 bonus point for a different culture book, so from Mexican Gothic, and 1 bonus point for a book set in a different country for Tunnel of Bones. So that's 3 additional points. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's get started. So first off, we grab one of these. So goal getter, mark +1 on the tracker. Nice. And then our first roll, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh man, okay. So we have to re-roll a 2. 1, 2. So our first prompt is LGBTQIA+, so some rep in this house. Okay, so for our first book, I ended up going with Honey Girl. This actually popped up in one of our last tabletop TBR games, and I ended up going with a different pick, but everybody said that this is a really good one. I forgot that she is supposed to be into space and stuff, and I think that's a really fun aspect. So this is a lesbian romance romance where our main character, who I guess is supposed to be kind of like nerdy and I want to say antisocial, but that's not necessarily it. She's like a nerdy introvert who ends up going to Vegas with her friends, and in a drunken stupor, she ends up marrying another woman that she doesn't actually really know, and it's, I guess, about them learning about each other now that they're married. So it's gonna be interesting. Next up, you've got a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, we got lucky there. Okay, an enemies to lovers. So we're gonna get at least one romance. For enemies to lovers, I actually struggled with this one because it is a trope that I really enjoy, and I've already read most of the books / all of the books that I'm aware of, at least, that I own that has this trope. So I decided that I would purchase this, and I'm gonna let future me tell you about it. We are well into the month, but because things are all weird, hi, update. I have received the book that I ended up getting for, I believe, the Enemies to Lovers prompt, which is The Trouble with Hating You by Sajini Patel. Probably butchered that. I apologize. I actually don't know anything about this other than like the title. It says these two are so not in love. I think this will be a fun one, and I'm excited to pick this up pretty soon. All right, next up. 1, 2, so a TBR jar pick. Time for the TBR jar. I have filled it up, mixed it, and let's go. Okay, so we're getting, can't read that, can you? The X-Hex by Erin Sterling. So I ended up getting this in one of my Book of the Month boxes, and I know nothing about it other than it's supposed to be fairly witchy and romance, I believe. So hopefully this will be a fun one that we'll enjoy in the fall season. Next up, 3. 1, 2, 3, so a double. First one is to read a book by an author I've read from before. For rereading an author I've read before, I thought this would be a great opportunity to fit in the second book in the series, A Song Below Water, and this is A Chorus Rises, both by Bethany C. Morrow. I really enjoyed the first book in the series. I don't know if it's just a duology or a trilogy or what. I've only read the first one and I really enjoyed it. The first one is about fantasy characters and racial identities. Basically, being black as in reality is difficult enough, but being a siren is even worse. So our main character in the first novel is a siren, and there is a really big case going on about a siren who has been murdered by her boyfriend, I believe, and the outcome of the case can in some ways determine the fate of sirens in this community. And so it's kind of a modern fantasy world, and I absolutely loved that aspect, having fantastical characters like witches and ghosts and sirens and mermaids and werewolves and whatnot, gargoyles, in an urban setting. So I think that was a really fun aspect, and I'm really excited to see what the second book has in store for us. And the second is a witchy read. Nice. I'm always down for that. For witchy read, I decided to go with Alice Hoffman's Practical Magic. I am a huge fan of the movie. I didn't realize that it was a book adaptation. I don't know. I love that book. I love witchy stuff. I always have. And that has just been a favorite movie of mine growing up. I always thought the house was amazing. The story was so interesting. The sisters were like, I just loved it. I loved it so much. So I'm really excited to read the book that it is based off of. And I recently learned that this is part of, I guess, a trilogy or a series. I don't know if it's 3 or 4 books or something like that, but I'm interested, a little bit nervous, but I am interested in reading all of them. I only have this one though, so we'll see what I think about it, and perhaps we'll get further into it. Okay, and our last roll is a 6. Got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we get a point and one of these. So we have a let's re-roll that added. So we have a couple of those now. And then I guess while we're doing this, we might as well use the Goal Getter Mark 1 at the same time. That'll be 2 points, 1 and 2, which makes for another bonus card. And this is a move to spaces, which will always be helpful. Okay, last roll is a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the last prompt for our normal rolls, a book with a blank cover. So let's roll for that. So a book with a black cover. For a book with a black cover, I decided to go with A Lesson in Vengeance, which admittedly I don't know much about other than it's supposed to have a very dark academia feel to it. I love books that have the dark academia vibe, like The Maidens. I really loved the storytelling and the writing for the books The Maidens, so I'm really hoping that this also has a similar vibe, but admittedly I know nothing about the actual story, so we will see if that is what happened. All right, and before I forget, let me get my punishment pick. Double whammy, pick 2. No! Okay, so I get 2 punishments. I don't know if I'll be able to do this. So the first one is a trope that you hate, and the second one is a book graveyard pick. Okay, so I'm actually going to do these last 2 picks at the same time because admittedly I struggled with them. So the point of the punishment cards is to encourage you to read books that you otherwise wouldn't read that are already on your bookshelf. And so for the first one, read a trope that you hate, I went to Goodreads and tried to find books that had tropes that I hate that I have currently. Insta-love, love triangles in romance books specifically, and I absolutely hate books that are about cheating spouses. So I tried to see if I could find those. I wasn't able to. The second prompt that I had was book graveyard, and that is basically just books that I really don't want to read and I'm thinking about getting rid of. I really like this one and hate it at the same time because it's books that I'm not excited about, but this is a second chance for them. So I decided that I would just do that for both of them. So I ended up picking Still Lives by Maria Hummel. This is a book of the month pick that I ended up getting years ago and that has just been sitting there with me just not being excited about it. It's definitely ended up in the getting rid of pile a couple of times, so I feel like this would be a great chance to see if perhaps that's not the case. And then a Fierce and Subtle Poison by Samantha Mayberry. This one's kind of a cheat. It has kind of ended up in the maybe I should get rid of it. I'm not super excited about it, but I think with both of these, the main reasons I'm not excited about these is because I don't really know what they're about. And let's be honest, a little bit superficial. I don't necessarily love the covers. I think this one's actually pretty cool. This one, I don't love the cover and I don't remember what it's about. So hopefully I will enjoy both of these and they will get a second chance. Okay, so here are all of the books minus the new pick that should be coming soon that I will be reading in November. Anyway, that's pretty much it for today's tabletop TBR. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I do have a print and play digital download available that's linked down below. It's currently pay what you want at a base price of $1, but if you'd like to help support the channel and the development of it, I would suggest paying $5 or $10. That would be very helpful because I am planning on selling it for $10 once everything is done. It is still in the works, so I would love your feedback and you will get any updates as I continue to work on it and expand it. But everything that you see in this video is already available for you. And I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye!